right? So like, for example, nurses, you work 3 days a week, and yes, it's emotionally stressful. A lot of people talk about how nurses are lazy because you work 3 days a week and then you don't want to do anything else. But I get the emotional toll that goes with those 3 days, right? Especially if you're working nights. But if you can just take action in 2 other days of that week, whatever business you want to start building on the side, is just taking action, then learning from it and building on that.
Today's episode, we are talking with Junior Francica. So I went to college with them. We're really good friends, played a lot of sports together, enjoyed a lot of fun activities. He didn't exactly finish nursing school. He actually, I don't remember how much he gets into during the podcast, but he failed. He got into first or second semester. Wasn't the right fit for him, but it ended up being a really good outcome because he's built a very successful real estate brokerage business in Chattanooga that he wouldn't have done if he had completed his nursing degree.
Yeah, I think it was cool hearing him talking about how he's doing his brokerage there, or I guess it's not his brokerage, but his real estate selling in Chattanooga. He's using a pretty cool technique that I think will be interesting for a lot of you. And yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people kind of get into nursing, do it for a few years, find out they don't like it, and then pivot to something else. Well, he just eliminated a lot of that fluff and just pivoted right from school. So good on you, Junior. But yeah, great episode today.
Yeah, and I will say Junior was one of the reasons that I started documenting my journey on social media platforms and YouTube, because as we'll get in today, it's powerful and it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, he's doing well with it there. So, all right, let's get into it.
You were in nursing school a little bit, but yeah, basically just kind of go back to there and tell us about yourself. How did your career and your journey begin?
Sure. So I was born in Brazil. I grew up in Miami, right? After high school, I went to the military. I did 4 years in the Marine Corps. And after the military, I had a bunch of friends that went to Southern, right? So I was like, you know what? I have nothing to do. I have the GI Bill. Let me go ahead and go to this place called Southern. I used to make fun of people that went there, which is kind of funny because I ended up there. But one day we were at the intramurals meeting for soccer, and this young guy just sits next to me. He's like, "Hey, bro, do you want to be on my team?" I'm like, "I guess, sure." He's like, "Look at our uniforms." And it was like the pink Juventus uniform. I was like, "All right, cool." And that's how I met Josh. And then we played soccer together. And during my time at Southern, I was in nursing school, right? When I went to Southern, I had no idea what I wanted to study because college wasn't really something that I thought I was going to do long term. But my girlfriend and wife now wasn't a nursing major. Josh was a nursing major. All my friends were nursing majors. So I'm like, go ahead and do some nursing. So during nursing school, I worked as a nurse tech at CVICU, and I essentially worked there full time and wanted to make more money than I wanted to get good grades. So I never finished nursing. And then I ended up having a kid. I got married, had a kid, and ended up leaving nursing school altogether. After nursing school, I was trying to figure out what to do with my life, and a buddy of mine got into real estate. And I was like, "Hey man, how's real estate going for you?" And he sent me 2 pictures of 2 separate checks. One check was $19,000 and one check was $10,000 of commission he got. So that's kind of when it like sealed the deal for me. I was like, all right, I want to be in real estate. I want to be an agent. And then from there, it took many years of building. I used social media and YouTube, try to build my clientele. And through YouTube, I've been able to lead generate a lot of people and kind of work with the investment side plus the residential side to grow my business.
So you said something about a GI Bill. That's like a military something, right? What is that?
Yeah. So the GI Bill is you serve a certain amount of time and they pay for school for 48 months, which comes out to 4 years. They pay for the school plus they give you a stipend to live on while you're going to school.
And that covers like 100% of your tuition, or is it capped, or how does that work?
I mean, it is capped, but then you have the yellow ribbon program and most schools participate. So the GI Bill will pay to a certain amount and then the yellow ribbon program will kick in and pay the rest. So it's essentially 100%.
Is that only for active duty, or is that or like how many years do you have to serve to get the 48 months and the yellow ribbon?
There's many different ways that you can go about it, but if you do like the 4 years active, you automatically get it. If you're a reserve, you can also do if you do like 2 deployments that total 12 months or more on active duty, you can also qualify for it. And there's many other different ways that you can qualify for it, but those are the 2 ways that I remember.
Nice.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned you mentioned we played soccer together. I noticed you didn't mention that we were 3-time volleyball champions together.
That we were, and I actually won 2 more times after you left, or I came back to school while you weren't there, and I won 2 more. But yes,
that's not what I want to hear. I want to hear that you couldn't win without me.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what I meant. But yeah, volleyball we also dominated, which is super fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Junior was the MVP of our team. Like if you don't have a good setter, you can't win. And Junior,
exactly. There you go. I'll take
MVP
it
right there.
I'll take it. Yes.
So you talk about your real estate. You mentioned you had a friend that showed you some checks and showed you they're pretty hefty checks. How does one get paid when you start to dive into real estate?
Yeah. So my real estate journey kind of took 2 different routes, right? So I started in real estate, and the way you get paid is you get a buyer or a seller, you help them buy or sell a house, you go through the process. 30 days later at closing, you get a commission check, right? So if you get all the way to the end and then for some reason the deal falls apart, you don't get paid. So what happened to me was I got into the business and I was like, I'm going to make this work. For about 8 to 10 months, I sold nothing. And, I did Uber and I did landscaping just to like make money for rent and food. At the time I had 2 kids and my wife was staying at home. She wasn't even working at the time. Then I decided to go back to school, back to Southern. I got a finance degree. Once I graduated Southern and I started working the corporate job, I soon realized that I didn't want to do 9 to 5. So I went back to real estate, but this time I started to go into YouTube and making videos on YouTube. And that way, this was kind of during the COVID time. Everybody was kind of fleeing different places and wanted more space. So Chattanooga was one of those cities that everybody was looking to. So I was able to get a lot of clients using YouTube and social media to build my real estate business compared to the first time.
Where did you see people coming from at that point? You said a lot of people were leaving wherever they were. So what other cities and states, I guess?
So initially it was all California people, right? Like 90% of my business was all California. But slowly it started to change. So I started to get a lot more like Denver, Colorado. I would get some Arizona people. And then recently I've gotten a huge uptick in Florida, right? So if you think about it, everybody kind of moved to Tennessee, Texas, or Florida. So a lot of the Florida people are kind of getting tired of, the Northeasterners, like from New York and stuff, all went there. So the prices are going up through the roof. Homeowners insurance are super expensive. So now they're looking to leave to go to cheaper areas. So I'm just starting to get a lot more Florida people. So as time goes, it first California, then Florida. Pretty soon it'll be a different population, maybe even from Texas.
As they're fleeing the Californians?
Essentially, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Florida fleeing the New Yorkers because all the New York, Florida. Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned you started doing your YouTube. I assume that's not something you saw results from immediately. What are the path of the YouTube program? How did that look?
So when I came back to real estate, I went to a different brokerage called eXp Realty, and in that brokerage, they allow you to recruit, right? So when you recruit agents under you, you kind of have to give them some value to join you. And one of the people that I joined, they had a YouTube course. So they started doing YouTube in Portland, I believe, Oregon, and then they did a couple other ones. So essentially I took the model that they did and I just replicated it here in Chattanooga. So I started my channel April of 2021. And it wasn't until August of that year that I got my first closing from the channel. And then from August to December, I got 17 deals in that like 5 months time frame, and then I've been kind of doubling that every year from YouTube.
Wow. Do you get any reimbursement? Not reimbursement, but do you get any paid directly from YouTube, or right now it's just you're making your money based on the referrals you're getting from it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I make maybe $16 a month, right, from the ad revenue, but that's not what I'm in it for. So you can build a YouTube channel just for affiliate links or ad revenue. I'm building the channel just to get value. And then I do call to actions on the channel. Like, hey, if you're looking to move to the area, if you like the value I give you, just go ahead and call me on the number on your screen. And I let them know if you're going to move here and you like me, just go ahead and call me and work with me.
Okay.
Have you been getting leads any other way, or is it just strictly coming from YouTube right now?
Right now, it's kind of more diverse, right? So when I started back up, all my leads were YouTube specific for the first year, maybe even 2 years. But slowly over time, I've also been building my Instagram. So now I'm starting to get leads through Instagram. And then those people that bought with me 2.5 years ago, now they're coming back and it's like, hey, I have another kid. I need a bigger house. Or, hey, I want to go back to Florida. I don't like it here. So now I'm starting to get that repeat business from it when I first started. And plus, compounding of my sphere. It kind of took about a year or so for people to start seeing me as the realtor and as a professional, because I don't know about you guys, but I did everything. I was a photographer, landscaper. I did everything, right? I was just trying to hustle. So once I settled on YouTube, it took about a year to a year and a half for my friends to also start seeing, okay, he's actually a professional. Let's start reaching out to him, right? So there is kind of a lag period because you feel like you're going to get your license and everybody's going to call you, but that's not the reality.
Yeah. So you mentioned you're with the company EXP Realty. So
Yep.
what did that look like? Because I know there's several different, well, just from talking with you in the past, there's several different like models on real estate programs and real estate brokerages. So what does yours specifically look like, and why did you choose that one as opposed to any other brokerage?
Yeah. Every brokerage has something different that they offer. The reason why I chose my brokerage is one, the people that I wanted to build my business not through cold calling or door knocking, which is what the other brokerage that I was a part of teaches, right? And that's Keller Williams. There's nothing wrong with that. People are still successful with that, but I didn't want to do that. So I wanted to do more social media and even more YouTube based. So essentially I found these guys and they're like, hey, if you join us, we'll give you our course for free. And I believe at the time the course was like $5,000. So it was either pay the $5,000, which I didn't have, or just join them and get the course for free. So that's why I joined the company. But also the company is 100% virtual. So there's a lot less fees and there's a lot more, they have stocks, they have, revenue share that you can get for recruiting people. So they give you a lot of incentives to also help grow the company, whereas other brokerages are not like that. And that's why I like that one.
And all this has been in Chattanooga?
Yeah, I mean, I can recruit from anywhere in the country. So I'm starting to recruit people kind of in Florida, friends that I have back home. And I started another YouTube channel that I'm using for realtor specific, and that's going to be based more either giving value to realtors and what you can do to grow your business, but also using that as a recruitment tool to just capture more realtors across the country.
What is that podcast called?
So the channel is just called my name, Junior Francica, on YouTube. But we also have a podcast now that you mention it. It's called Real Estate Chat. And that's me and my business partner, Ashley. And with that podcast, we just try to be real about our industry, right? Kind of like nursing, right? Everybody gets into nursing because the schedule is great. The pay is great. You can do travel stuff, but 90% of the nurses hate their job. That's what my experience was working at the hospital, right? So the same thing with like real estate, everybody thinks they're going to make all this money and they get into the business and there's like a 90% fail rate within 2 years. And that's because it's a hard business to get into. So we talk about not just real estate specific, but like mindset and vision and like, knowing that it's a struggle and it's okay to struggle and keep moving forward, that type of stuff.
Outside of just random hustles like the landscaping, photography, whatever else within real estate in that first, I guess, year where you're just trying to get your first deal or however long it takes you, like, is there anything else you could be doing as a licensed realtor to generate some income in the meantime?
Yes. So it depends on you and your vision, right? So you can also join a team. So if you are not really motivated, but you want to be in real estate, you don't care about building something yourself, you can always join a team, which a team will provide you the accountability you need. Most teams provide you leads, right? So you don't have to go lead generate. Most teams will provide you a space, coach or mentor. But on the back end, once you have a closing, let's say typically splits are like you keep 80% of your commission, 20% goes to the brokerage. From that 80%, you're also going to give up another 50 to 60% to the team. So from one commission, you're probably going to end up with like 25, 30%, right? But you get leads, you get coaching, you get all this stuff from the team. So you can make money a lot faster. So if you are married and have kids and need to make money ASAP, you should probably join a team because you can start generating leads and money faster. Or you can do like me. I was married with kids. So I just kind of hustled on the side, whatever I had to do for money. So like I talked about Uber, I did landscaping. Sometimes I took photos. I did portraits of families, whatever I had to do to keep afloat while I was trying to build the real estate business.
And are you now just relying only on the real estate business?
Yeah. So I quit my corporate job July 1st of 2021. And ever since then, I've been 100% in real estate.
So how long were you balancing real estate and whatever corporate, what was the corporate job that you were doing?
I was a financial analyst for a company here in Chattanooga.
Okay. And what did you not like about that?
My goal was like, I was in nursing school. So I wanted to get a finance degree and then go to a hospital and kind of grow the corporate ladder in the healthcare system, right? I never got that opportunity. So I got a job here locally and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to grow this corporate ladder. But very early on, I noticed that the direction of the company, the person in charge was an elderly person. And he was in it more to kind of enjoy life. So he'd go golfing all the time and doing this and work a couple hours a week. And the whole company was full. It was only like 7 people, was full of young people hungry to grow. And he didn't want to grow. So I didn't like that my ceiling was capped because of somebody else's decisions. I was ready to work. I wanted to work, but I didn't see that hunger in him. So I essentially chose to go on myself because I wanted to build something for myself and for my family.
When was the first time you were introduced into like entrepreneurship and building your own business? Because I mean, there's a lot of people, nurses included, because we know what we have to do, but there's not a lot of room for growth. So how are you? Yeah. What put that in your mind, and how did you even know where to go to get that?
I mean, I started when I was a kid, I remember selling lollipops in class, right? So I had a buddy of mine that started to sell lollipops. He would buy them for, 10 cents, sell them for 25. And then one day I was at the dollar store and I saw a huge bag of lollipops. I'm like, I can sell them for even cheaper than him. And now I can make a bigger profit. Like ever since I was a kid, I always looked for opportunity, and I was okay with not coming up with the idea if I didn't have to. I've had oil changing services. Me and my buddy Chris, we called it JC Lube. We go to people's houses and change their oil. I mean, I've done stuff throughout my life. It was more of a hustle, not like I want to grow this huge business. But over time, I just taking action. All right. So like, for example, nurses, you work 3 days a week, and yes, it's emotionally stressful. A lot of people talk about how nurses are lazy because you work 3 days a week and then you don't want to do anything else. But I get the emotional toll that goes with those 3 days, right? Especially if you're working nights. But if you can take action in 2 other days of that week, whatever business you want to start building on the side, is just taking action and learning from it and building on that.
What kind of advice would you give to, let's say a nurse that is working currently but is unfulfilled? What kind of advice would you give to them if they're looking for something else to do, or other ways to generate income, whether it's just income related, or if they're trying to like scale it back in nursing? What would you tell them?
I mean, that depends because everybody's situation is different, right? So if you just want to generate income, go be a travel nurse and make more money, honestly, right? But if you want to do something that you enjoy and make more money. So I have a friend of mine that I'm recruiting in Orlando, and she's a nurse, but she got her license as an agent. So with her, what I'm doing is like, hey, let's start a YouTube channel for you, because you can easily make videos 2 days a week or 3 days a week while you're not working, right? And then as you start getting clients in, you can maybe go part-time or PRN and start servicing those clients. And then eventually you can make the switch altogether. So whether it's real estate or even investing, you have time during the week that you can put towards something. Now, a lot of people get into nursing and they, don't really explore what their passion is or what they really like, whether it's fitness, spiritual, family, whatever the case may be. So I would suggest just start doing a bunch of different things and then see what you like, and then start honing in whatever it is you like. And you just need to start taking action in whatever you like. It's not going to be perfect. You're probably going to suck at it, which is fine. But over time, you'll get better if you consistently do it.
I do think that's a great thing about nursing, just because the schedule does allow you to have these side hustles, and they're kind of risk-free side hustles. And then at a certain point, like you said, if it becomes profitable or if it can replace your nursing income, then you can make the switch while having that security of, like you said, the part-time, which still gives you the benefits, or the PRN, which
Yep.
maybe you lose your benefits, but you're getting pretty good pay. So it is
Exactly.
great in that way. So yeah, definitely a great way to set it up.
And like worst case scenario, what happened? You quit your nursing job and you try this venture and you fail. You're going to get another nursing job. So you're going to be right back where you started, where you didn't like anyways. You're never going to not get a nursing job, right? So when I was trying to go and do my business, I kept telling my wife, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And she's like, just do it. Worst case scenario is just get another job you don't like. You'll be fine. We'll just be right back in the position we are now. But if you do it and you succeed, it'll be way beneficial. And it's true.
I think I want to say it's either Alex Hormozy or Cody Sanchez. They say like, if you're living your current day worst case scenario, then what have you got to lose?
Exactly. There's only going up from there.
Right. So bring it back just a little bit, back to where when you were first building your real estate business, you were doing a lot of stuff. It's not easy, obviously. I assume you were basically working the equivalent of 2 or 3 full-time jobs with your landscaping, photography while building this business. So talk to us a little bit about that. Like, what does it take to actually do what it needs, what you have to do to build something that can become like what you have now?
Sure.
Or bigger.
Yeah. So, I mean, I believe that, the whole balance thing is a myth. I believe in seasons, right? So depending on what season of life you are in and what your goals are is what's going to dictate how much time you put into things. So right now I'm in a season of growth and building, even though I have kids. So essentially it's business and then it's family time. I don't really have anything in between. I wanted to build a business on social media, which meant that I can be flexible with my schedule. So if I would have done something on cold calling, right, or door knocking, let's say, there's only a certain amount of hours a day that I can door knock. So you either door knock from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. or maybe 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. That's it. That's your only time that you can do the work. But with YouTube and social media, I can make videos at midnight. I can wake up super early at 4 a.m. and make videos. So I can kind of work around my family schedule because I made my family a priority to where I could build a business that way. So if you're trying to build something, try to do something that can fit around your priorities. Or if you don't have another priority, just know that the next 6 months, 12 months, 3 years is going to be a season of building. And that's okay. That doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever.
So you said like in the first year when you started doing the YouTube thing, you had 1 lead in the first 8 months, and then from August to December you had 17 that came in. So what does that look like in terms of actually getting those to closing where you get those checks?
So I had 1 closing in August. That was my first closing. So I had 3 that month, but my first one was in August, then August to December, 17 closings. I had a bunch of leads before that, but it's, I was new in the business. I didn't know how to do sales. I didn't know how to convert, how to talk to people. But essentially is I have a number that I use in my YouTube channel that's paired to an app. At the time I used Google Voice, which is free. So they would call or text that number, and essentially it would go through the pipeline or the funnel. So I would say, hey, are you looking to rent or buy, right? Because if they want to rent, I can't really do much for them. I give them some resources and I send them on their way. But if they're looking to buy, okay, what's your timeline? Are you pre-approved? And then I start working on the process. Typically, if they're going to want to buy in the next 3 to 4 months, I would get on a Zoom call. And then from there, I do a buyer presentation, which takes about an hour. We go through all their concerns. I go through the whole contract, how everything's going to work. And then when they come in town, I go ahead and show houses. So while I was working my job, it was hard because if they're in town and they're like, hey, I want to see these 4 houses, I would have to tell my boss, hey, I'm sick today, or hey, I need to take my kid to the doctor. So it got too many of those to where I had to quit my job. I couldn't keep calling off and I felt bad. So then I had to switch. So I had about a month and a half of no paycheck per se. But I had all that time to devote to my leads that were coming into town. And then as soon as I was able to close, now I started to make money and put more time into it.
So from the first time you get a warm lead or any kind of lead, I guess, how long until you see any fruits, I guess, of that labor? Or
So it depends.
How long does it take?
It depends. I love YouTube because YouTube gives you hot leads, right? So the difference is a cold lead is like somebody gives you a phone number. They're like, hey, my cousin's friend wants to buy a house. That's cold. They don't know you. They don't have a relationship with you. A warm lead is like, hey, Josh, calls me and says, hey, a buddy of mine is moving to Chattanooga and I told them about you. That's warm. A hot lead is they know you, they love you, they trust you, and they're ready to work with you. You just need to give them a call. So most of the YouTube leads are hot because they've been watching me. I have people that watch me for 2 years and then they call me, right? And then when they get on the Zoom call like this, or they call me on the cell phone, they're like, they treat you like your friends from high school. They're almost like fans. It's a weird feeling to where people treat you like that, but essentially they're going to use you. So what was your question? How long till you close? Is that it?
How long from the time you get a lead to the time you see any kind of money from that lead?
So I've had it as fast as the same day, and I've had it as slow as a year plus. So I've gotten, a text message before. Hey, I want to see this house tomorrow. You're going to FaceTime my wife. I'm like, okay. I schedule it. I do a FaceTime walkthrough with the wife. The wife loves it, so they want to put in an offer. I still haven't seen the guy or really talked to him on the phone. We text back and forth because he doesn't want to talk on the phone. He gives me all the details of the contract. I send him the contract. We get on the contract. 30 days later, we close on the house. I made like 14 grand and he wants me to ship the keys back to him in California. Never seen him since. So that's kind of like that, or it takes like a whole year of looking and then we close. Everything in between.
That's pretty wild.
It's pretty sweet. Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
I guess it's every YouTube, level of it. But yeah, that sounds good. I like the idea of that, like people kind of already know you from the YouTube channel. I think that's
for sure.
So my wife does photography and we went to photograph somebody one time and when we pulled up, the girl gets out of the car and she's like, I can't believe I'm meeting you in person. And I was like, who is she talking to? And she's like talking to my wife. And I was like, oh yeah, like I guess she's like a thing. So it's like, I guess it is kind of strange, but it works.
Jennifer.
Yeah, sometimes I'll be at like a pizza place here and I'm like, hey, Junior. And I look back and they're like, dude, I've been watching your YouTube videos. We're here from Phoenix, blah, blah. So it's kind of weird, but like, it's like if you were to meet, Alex Hormozy that you watch all the time on social media, right? Like you automatically have a respect for him and anything he says is going to go and you're going to take his advice. Is the same way when you lead generate through YouTube. They just follow you for so long. And if you truly give them value, they just trust you off the bat.
Yeah. Have you used any text campaigns or anything like that? Or because you said you didn't want to do the cold calling or door knocking. Did you ever do any of that or texting or any of those kind of things?
I have not. No. So I haven't done any Facebook ads, text campaign, cold calling. There's a bunch of places now that do cold calling for you, right? So you can actually pay for a company. They have cold callers that do it for you. I've spent probably zero on marketing as far as like paid leads. Now I've done branding and stuff like that I've spent money on, but for the most part, YouTube is free. So besides gear that I buy, which I spent a lot of money on gear, everything else I have not spent towards marketing. But that's probably something I'm going to step into in the next year or two.
Are you investing in real estate yourself as well, like buying any rentals or anything like that, or just selling?
Sure. So I actually just got under contract for a flip. They accepted our offer over the weekend, which is a crazy story that I can tell you guys, but that was something that we always wanted to get into, me and my business partner, and we just had an opportunity. She knew a friend that was selling a house. The mom passed away, and we just went to see the house, and nobody else was interested, and it was kind of an easy first flip for us.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, let's hear that story.
I mean, so we went to a conference in South Florida, and I was just working at the coffee shop, and this dude next to me was grubbing on a sandwich, right? Like he was eating very loudly, and I was like, this guy's okay. Anyway, so I was like working, and then my partner comes in and we just started talking about title and we need to send the earnest money, this and that. And he's like, are you guys talking about title? And we just started talking to each other. And essentially he's being our hard money lender. So he's really big into flipping in Florida. And then we talked about how we're in Chattanooga. And he was like, oh, I was looking to get into the Tennessee market, but I was thinking Nashville. And I was like, no, you need to go to Chattanooga. So, we did our sales thing. And he was like, great. If you guys find anything, let me know. And in real estate, you always make those connections, but you don't really think much of it. But we come back home and then she has this off-market property that just kind of fell in her lap. So we went to see it. And as soon as we saw it, we messaged him. He's like, hey, we have a house that we want to flip. And it kind of just went from there. He's like, great, I'll give you hard money. It's going to be like this. It's going to be like that. And I'll also mentor you. So I had contractor connections. We're realtors, so we know the real estate process. So it's kind of an easy transition.
Nice.
And so you said hard money. So what does that What's the difference between hard money, just getting a regular loan from the bank, private money? Can you go into those a little bit?
So a loan from the bank, like let's say you want to buy a house, you can get an FHA or a conventional loan or a VA loan. Typically, it's based on your credit and your income, right? Those are the two main factors that they look at. So if you have really bad credit or you have really good credit but no income, typically you can't really get a loan. A hard money loan is something that you want to do very short term. And the reason being is that it's very high interest. So hard money can be structured in many different ways, but the most common way is like 12% or like a couple points a month, which just means 1 to 2% a month. So if you're getting $100,000 loan, hard money loan, you're eventually going to pay 12 to 15% of that throughout the whole process. And they typically have a cap in how long they can give you the loan for. So like 6 months. So you need to be in the property, renovate, go through the contract, close before 6 months is up. So you can pay that hard money loan off.
And this was just like a straight 12% annualized return type of a deal for him? Or was this something where he was like partner and he took a certain amount of the earnings?
So this one we're JV, so a joint venture. So essentially from the earnings, we're keeping 80% and he's keeping 20%. And out of that 20%, he's paying the hard money points that he's having to pay. I think is about 12 to 15%. Plus he's keeping the rest for him. And then me and my partner are keeping 80%. So we don't have to deal with the hard money side of it. He said that he could just do the straight up hard money lending, or we could do JV, and he can also be kind of a mentor because he does, 10, 20 flips at a time. So I wanted to do the JV route because I'm not in it to make 10 grand now. I'm in it to make $100 million over the next 20 years. So if I can have somebody like that with the wealth of knowledge to just tap into and learn fast, I was okay with giving 20% up for that.
Yeah. And that's at a 20% on top of what you're already paying for the hard money, right?
No. So the hard money is calculated in the 20%. So me and my partner have to put 20% down of our money. And then because that's what the hard money lenders typically require is some percentage down. Unless you have a relationship and you've done many flips or many deals with, then at that point, they might give you 100% of the hard money. But before that, you need to put about 20% down. And then of the proceeds, right, of the profit, that 100% we're splitting. We keep 80, he keeps 20, plus he pays off the hard money points and interest and stuff like that.
This is your first flip, you said?
It is, yes. But again, we're realtors, right? So we deal with real estate transactions. Like there's not much besides the construction side of it that we don't know about. So it was a lot more comfortable than before I was in real estate if this opportunity would have happened. And that's, I guess, something that a lot of people can learn from. Sometimes you want opportunities at the right point of your life, because if this would have came up 5 years ago, I wouldn't be ready for it as I am today.
Yeah, I think that's timing is definitely important for a lot of this stuff. I mean, even for us, just with transitioning to, I don't know if I mentioned, but Jen and I, my wife, are doing property management, and had the opportunity presented itself sooner, we probably wouldn't have been ready for it, but it came at just the right time. And so now here we are.
So you guys also have properties together, right? Like you invest in properties?
Yeah, Josh and I and Jen and Nicole, technically it's like a whole family.
Sure. Yeah.
Family plan. But yeah, Josh and I are doing like the leads and the investors, and Jen's kind of overseeing it as the CEO, and then Nicole's kind of helping as well.
So do you do the property management for all the properties you get into, or you have your own property management company on the side?
So we're doing property management for all the properties we own, except we just set it up to use a third-party property manager for one of the mobile home parks we own. So they're going to be taking over, I think, October 1st. And then Jen and I manage the rest. And then we also manage we live in a 35-unit apartment building in Los Angeles, and we manage that as well.
Nice. Okay. So what kind of properties do you guys have? Because you said trailers and apartment buildings.
Manufactured housing communities.
There you go.
we have two of those, and then we have a fourplex, single family home.
Okay.
And then we're under contract for another mobile home park. So what kind of focusing more on that now?
Yeah. So you're focusing more on the manufactured home complex aspect
That's
of
right.
it.
Community.
Community.
Yeah.
You guys enjoy that more than the, quadplex or, apartment building?
Yes. And I mean, yes, just because we're buying parks where most or all of the homes are tenant-owned homes. So we just own the land and we're just collecting lot rent. So there's a lot less maintenance in terms of the actual homes.
Yeah.
Whereas with the fourplex we own, for example, we've had to do a bunch of work there. And as newer real estate investors, we're not buying these A-class properties that are brand new builds. So it's like we're buying older places that need a lot of work. So for the price point we're buying them at currently, it's a lot less work for the mobile home park. So that's been nice. And we just based on the amount of units we can buy at once, looking at our financials at the end of the year last year, it was just like, okay, this one mobile home park we owned at the time was generating way more than anything else we had. So it was just like kind of clear choice for us.
So the maintenance is a lot less, as you mentioned, because we don't own the home. So anything inside of the house, the tenant is required to take care of. However, when things do come up, it's typically a really big issue, like some big old plumbing issue or septic leak that just backs into all of the houses, and that obviously we're going to take care of that type of big stuff. They're taking care of all of the property.
Ish.
Yeah, so I live in Green Bay. Our furthest property is just over 2 hours away from us, so relatively local. If I had to get in my car and go somewhere, I could.
Now, was that like strategic to where you wanted it to be far away to where you can't just drop by, but close enough to where you can drive to it, or it kind of just worked out that way?
It just worked out. The first home we ever bought together was a single family in a town called Anago, about an hour and a half away. And the reason we bought that was just because the entry point for the price point was $35,000 for the whole house, and couldn't get that anywhere close to where I live. So that's why we did that one. And so glad we did. That house is worth $1 million now. No, I mean, kind of. From the stuff that we've been able to learn from it, I would value it a lot more than $35,000.
Nice. Do you guys still own that house, or you've already moved on from it?
Yeah, we still have it.
We sold a lot of other stuff we bought in between, but we do still have that first single family property.
Gotcha. So, I mean, the trailer stuff or the community stuff sounds really interesting. So somebody's looking to get into that manufactured community. How would somebody start to get into that? Do you need hard money, or can you get like a regular loan for that? What would you guys advise?
Well, so the owners of those type of properties a lot of them are mom and pops, until you get to the ones that are like 100, 200, 300 pads. A lot of them are kind of mom and pops, just kind of either have owned it forever or just kind of happened to own it. So a lot of them do need work. So there's a lot of banks that are very hesitant to loan on them. So I would definitely recommend calling a ton of different banks to see who's actually willing to loan on them, because we've called a lot. We found three or four good banks that are willing to loan on them, but each of them will loan at different terms. They consider it a higher risk asset, so that interest rates are going to be higher and stuff. But we actually bought the first one we bought without putting any of our own money into the purchase. So we found a bank that was willing to loan 80% loan to value, and then we convinced the seller to hold on to 20% of the note. So we came out of pocket with the inspection and appraisal, I guess. But really, aside from that, we didn't put any of our own money into there. And that's kind of the seller being willing to be a little bit more creative, because they know banks are a little hesitant to loan on those.
And that first one, technically, we didn't pay for the appraisal or the inspection. We only paid for the lawyer fees because
that's right.
We wrote a check that bounced.
They wrote it into the loan.
And the bank was just like, well, we'll just build it into your loan. So we're like, oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, cool.
But at the same time, my income was strong. So they felt a little more level of security as far as that goes. And then we had already bought 2 single families and 3 small multis by that time. So we did have some sort of a track record, and they were willing to, I don't want to say take a risk on us, but they were willing to loan to us because they had seen what we had done and that we did it well, basically.
For sure. And then did you guys go through like a LLC, or is this all through your guys' personal name?
Through an LLC. Me and Colin are, actually it's changing, but right now me and Colin are 50-50 owners of that LLC.
Gotcha. Okay. Nice. And then, so you guys got the loans through the LLC too then?
We did. Yeah.
Okay. So do you think that having those properties, like the 2 single family homes and the multifamily, helped get that loan at the end? or
For sure.
the first loan for the community?
Definitely.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. I've always been intrigued with trailer home parks, right? Because, Brandon Turner from Bigger Pockets back in the day would talk about it, and a lot of people have gotten into it, and they all make it seem like it's easy, but I'm sure there's a lot more to it. So I was just curious about it.
Oh, we got some good stories. Or I should say Colin has a lot of good stories. He's doing all the property management, which is nice. But he's got some pretty cool stories. I don't want to say cool stories, some interesting stories that you won't hear of anywhere else.
Yeah, it's for sure.
It's definitely an interesting asset class, but I mean, that's great. I mean, it's a good thing. But it is. Well, there's a different kind of challenge.
There's a really large spectrum of manufactured housing communities. You can find these that have not been taken care of for 40 years. Where there's trees everywhere. They're like half of the roof is blown off and there's just a tarp over it and nobody cares. You can find those. And then you can find, like, I want to say almost class A communities in Arizona where everybody just like takes extreme pride in their house, retired 55 plus communities. But there's a wide range of them that you can find also.
Interesting. Pretty cool. Yeah, maybe I should look into it. Who knows?
Definitely. Just not in Wisconsin. No, just kidding.
Oh man.
No, for sure. There's so many to go around. There's how many, like over 1,400 just in Wisconsin. So there's so many, and it's not something that I ever really even noticed until we bought our first one, and now I see them like all over the place.
How'd you guys get into the first one?
So my cousin has been investing in them for years, and he had been kind of trying to get us to buy one. And like the first initial thought process is, I'm sure like you thought when the first time you ever heard of one is like, I don't know if that doesn't sound like very lucrative, or it doesn't sound very appealing. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why it is because people always have that image in their head. But he had bought
there you go,
6 or 8. I don't know how many he had, but he had several, and they were all doing really well. And he was doing really well. And he actually found the first one we bought in Wisconsin, he actually found, and he's like, hey, I think this guy wants to sell. Take a look at it. And obviously I'm like, well, why don't you want it if it's so good?
Right.
And he wouldn't give me a direct answer. He's like, oh, I don't know. Like, just check it out. I don't know. Like, but it ended up being a really good deal. So we're thankful for that. And we bought another one since then, and we're set to close on a third one here end of October.
Nice. So do you guys have like a long-term strategy with that? Do you want to buy and eventually sell, or just kind of hold for the life of them?
Everything we've bought has been a forever hold. And so now that I say that, we've actually sold 4 properties since we've, I don't want to say flipped, because the point, the goal was never to sell them, just, refinance, get all of our money back, and then just ride out on the cash flow forever off into the sunset. But with these parks that we're buying, the plan's not to ever sell them. We'll just refinance every once in a while, get some cash, and live on the cash flow, or not live on it, but enjoy the cash flow.
Yeah, there you go. The tax-free money.
That's right. Yeah. And
it's funny you say that about seeing them everywhere now, because for the longest time, anytime we drive somewhere, we'd be driving, I'd be telling Jen, oh, look, golf course. Now it's like mobile home park, golf course. Yeah.
You'll see the golf course.
It's just now.
I still get into golf.
You got to.
I'm holding off because I know it's going to take a lot of my life. So I'm holding off as long as I can.
It does. But I'm sure you've seen Ryan's, his little thing like, oh, I got my first private money loan on the golf course.
Exactly. So I'm like, baby, look, this is business,
Yeah. Yeah. I tell Nicole that every day. She's like, no, you're crazy.
Yeah. She just rolls her eyes.
Yeah. So what's some advice that you would give to somebody who's in the grind right now, and they're having a hard time seeing the light at the end of the tunnel? What's some advice you'd give to them, like as far as motivation or what they should do, or even 1 or 2 steps just to get somebody started in that direction?
Well, for one, you need to have a goal or a direction, right? So we're assuming that they're doing something that they have a direction. So with that in mind, is that typically we know what we should be doing, right? So if we're 300 pounds, how do you lose weight? You eat less, you move more, and you're going to lose weight. Everybody knows that, but you typically don't do it, right? So you don't have to see the end, but you have to take actions. So time is going to pass whether you take action or you don't take action. I learned this when I was at Southern. I wanted to be a PT, and I was like, man, I'm 22, 23 years old at the time. I'm like, by the time I'm done, I'm going to be 28. Wow, I'm so old. I can't do this PT stuff. I'm 34 now. So I learned, and at 28, I was still in school. I had just switched to finance, right? So I should have just done it from the beginning. So I learned that time is going to pass no matter if you take the action to reach your goals or you don't. So you might as well just start taking action to get somewhere. Now, I believe in taking action first and figuring it out later, right? As long as you know the next step, take that action. You don't need to know step 10, 20, 30. Take the next step. And once you get there, you'll figure out the next step. And slowly by slowly, eventually you'll look back and see that you've come further than what you thought possible. And what I've learned is as you grow, there's always going to be more that you want to achieve and more that you want to grow. So just embrace the suck is what they say, right? It's going to suck, but just keep taking the action to go in the direction.
I don't remember who says it, but I've heard this on several different podcasts. Is write down your top 10 things that you need to get done and do 3 of them, or do this every day. Write down 10 things that need to get done and do 3 of them, and you'll have a really good career and you'll move in the right direction.
Yep. Andy Frisella talks about the power list. Do 5 things a day that move your business forward. That's all you got to do. Essentially, it's really simple, but we make it complicated because we live in the world of now, right? So what can I do to achieve whatever I want now? And that's just not how it works. If that's how it worked, everybody would be rich, famous, and successful, but it doesn't work that way. Instead, people just complain about how hard it is, but never actually take the action. So just do 3 to 5 things a day that's going to move your business, your spiritual life, your relationship, whatever it is you want to achieve forward. And before you know it, you're going to get there and even move past it.
Yeah, you say it's simple. It's definitely simple. Definitely not easy, but simple.
Oh no, yeah, it's hard to do, but it's a simple concept to grasp.
Yeah, right. All right. What's the single best piece of advice you've ever received?
Single best piece of advice: be careful who you marry. So I remember I was at a job interview once when I had got my finance degree, and they were like, what's the most important decision you've ever made? And I thought about it for a little bit. And to me, marrying my wife, so it kind of goes hand in hand. Be careful who you marry, because people, you see this pretty girl or this pretty boy and you're like, oh, I'm going to marry them. They have all these values that I don't agree with, but that's fine. They're pretty, they're nice, I'm going to marry them. But if you marry the wrong person, for the rest of your life, they're going to hold you back or not let you achieve things that you want. So if you marry the right person, I don't know, I'm sure you can attest to this, Josh, with Nicole, is like, my wife just pushes me to be better. She pushed me to leave my job and go forward with my dreams. Like anytime I'm struggling, she's like, it's going to be okay. You will figure it out. It's just the small things in life that she just supports me in everything I want to do. And if I were to marry somebody that would always hold me back, I'd be miserable. Right. So it's very important. Be careful who you marry.
Is she still doing nursing?
She's a stay-at-home mom now. Yeah. So after our 3rd, she's been home. And that was kind of always the plan. And again, we didn't know how we were going to make it happen, but the plan was for her to be at home. Eventually, I fell into real estate, started making money, and God blessed us enough that she could stay home with the kids.
All right. Now, a side note, what are you doing to maintain your volleyball form for future Olympics?
So I do plyometrics for 4 hours every morning. Dude, I do want to play volleyball. There's a bunch of leagues here and I'm always like, yeah, I'm going to play. And then I get super busy and I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
So it's either play a sport or not see your kids. And I choose my kids.
That's a good choice. I know that's like, cause soccer is something like I can't just go play soccer, but volleyball is something like I can just go play and I'm
Well, yeah,
cool.
I can pass and set all day,
Yeah.
but soccer is like, you got to be in shape and cardiovascularly, get your ankles broken by the little kids. And I don't know.
Yeah, it's embarrassing, but
Yeah.
getting old. So now that's why I golf, because I can still keep up with the young guys. And
There you go.
I don't know what else. Pickleball's fun.
I heard it's fun, but I mean, we don't have time with the kids. So,
Yeah.
and we don't have family here to watch the kids to go out and do that type of stuff, but it's all right.
Where is your family?
My mom is in Miami and my in-laws are in Bradenton, Tampa area in Florida.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's why you were there for a little bit?
Yeah, that's why we were in Tampa for 2 years. When I failed out of nursing, we were about to have Camila first. So we moved to the in-laws house and kind of lived there for a little bit. Thought about going back to nursing and then ended up doing real estate, but we wanted to come back to Chattanooga because I wanted to build the real estate business here in Chattanooga, not in Tampa.
Okay. Yeah. Why did you choose to build the real estate business? And yeah, what made you choose Chattanooga?
Because long term, I wanted to be here. And building a real estate business is very landlocked, right? So if I build a business in Tampa, I can't just get up and leave to Chattanooga because then I'd start all over. So I knew long term, my goal was to raise my family here. So we kind of just made that move right when I started real estate to build that business here.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know I meant to go into some of the details about the business, but didn't. Kind of made it to the end.
Well, hit me up if you want to know more.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear how that YouTube stuff's working though, because I like the idea of not having to have a set time that you have to do it. Like, I think for cold calling, I know they talk about 2 to 4 or no 4 to 6, like after work, before dinner. But it's like, yeah, that's a tough time. So
yep. I mean, YouTube, you can make videos whenever. Like I can get off this call, it's 5:30 p.m. here, and I can make videos, or I can go home, have dinner with my family, then come back to the office or at home if I have a room and make videos then. Especially when you're in an office setting, I can control the lighting. I can make it seem like daytime or nighttime.
Yeah.
That doesn't really matter. So that's why I really like the YouTube. And now YouTube itself, it's a multi-billion-dollar company that knows how to target people. So if you know how to do the SEO work and you know how to do keyword research and title and thumbnails, you can target people specifically that you want to hit.
Oh, actually, so we're going to go back. We're going to add this on. We didn't ask how people can get follow you. So we'll add this on the end. So how can people So how can people follow you if they want to know more about you?
Yep. Just hit me up on Instagram, junior.francica, whether it's real estate or business or life or whatever you guys want to ask. I'm always free and happy to help.
How do you spell Francica?
Francica.
All right. It's like French or something, right?
Dude, I've gotten called Francesca, Francisco, whatever. I was in the military for 4 years and they called me Frank for 4 years because nobody could say my name because you get called by your last name. So yeah, all good. I've heard it all.
Thanks, man. It's cool to hear how you're doing it all out there. I like that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. You got a hustle and take action. You'll find your role in your place eventually.
How was the real estate license? Because I'm for the property management, I actually have to get my real estate license, and it's something I've been messing around with for a while.
Oh,
and
really?
As I'm studying, I'm like, I can't imagine that you have to know all this stuff for the exam. Like, is the exam pretty?
It's hard, but I mean, when I took my real estate license, I studied for it like I would a nursing test, and I passed no problem. But a lot of people fail it and take it a couple times. But it's a book like 300 pages long, and there's 100 questions on the whole book.
Yeah. That's
what it comes down to. It's 75 questions, national questions, and then there's 15 questions of state specific wherever you're at. But you as a property manager, it'd be great if you had it because you're going to start knowing when sellers want to sell. Because if you have a property that you're managing, typically the owner is going to come to you and be like, hey, do you know anybody that can sell my house? Or do you know anybody that can buy? So you can typically get listings a lot faster than people like me that are not in with investors like that.
No, it's definitely something. And just like for legal purposes, we have to have it. So I'm going to do it. It's been like this long drawn out process just because I go back and forth. I'm like, do I want to do it? Do I not want to do it? But now we kind of have to. So I'm just like, all right, well, I'll do it.
Yeah. It's a pain in the butt. And then once you get your license, you got to be careful in how you talk to people because you can't steer people one direction over the other, where they can live and all these regulations. Yeah.
Oh, that's another thing I was going to ask about. So you're like a fiduciary, right, to your clients. So how does that work when you're going like potentially as an investor rather than as their realtor?
I mean, essentially, I just have to let them know that I'm a realtor and I'm interested in the property, right? And then in that form that the state provides for us, it talks about all my knowledge and how I know real estate and I know contracts and stuff like that. But I mean, I see it as a positive because if somebody is selling their house, as an investment, let's say a flip or a wholesale, I can teach them and be like, hey, I will take care of all the paperwork. I'll show you all the contracts. I will do everything for you. I'll just tell you where to sign depending on what it is you want from the terms. I will take care of that. Whereas if I wasn't an agent, I can't come to them and be like, hey, I'll take care of the paperwork as a bonus for them. They'll just probably be overwhelmed with all the stuff, all the information that they had to take care of themselves. I can take it off their plate.
Makes sense. And then I was going to ask also, what's the most money you made in 1 month from selling houses?
54,000 in commissions.
It's not bad. And how many no commission months have you had?
So since I got my first YouTube closing, August of 21, I've had 2 months of no commissions, but it was within that first year. So in the last year and a half, I've closed at least one thing every month, which last year, like the last 6 months of last year when the rates rose up like crazy, that was a pretty tough 6 months, but God still blessed me enough to have at least one closing to pay the bills and keep going forward.
It's cool. Nice. It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, we can let you go. Thanks for coming on.
Nice to meet you, man.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me.
All right. Later, man.
All
Take
right.
care, guys.
Tell the family we said hey. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Investing RN.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast and leave a review if you enjoyed today's episode.
Be sure to share this episode with one other person and follow us on Instagram at investingrn.co. If you have any other questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, your input is super valuable and we love hearing from our listeners.
Until next time, remember, your financial well-being is a journey and we're here to guide you every step of the way. Keep investing in yourself and your future.